Welcome back. I'm going to do Design Solid tutorial number 4. It's a canoe and a doorstop. This tutorial helps you understand a couple new commands and the timeline, using the timeline function, and also just kind of playing around with the environment. It's pretty good. Activity 1 and Activity 2 kind of work together to help you understand these things. All right, so I'm going to move this over here off to my secret hidden monitor, and I have Fusion open, and I'm going to open up Basic Training, Modeling, Canoe. And let's just look around and see what they got. So there's a couple of planes in here which I honestly don't understand what these planes actually I do kind of. So the first, there's a yellow plane down at the, well, there's two yellow planes, but there's one at the bottom, you see, kind of down in here. I don't know if you can see it. And that's used to locate this point, I think. And then there's another yellow plane up in here, and that's used to draw some construction. No, it's used to draw, there's 3 sketches, all right? So let me turn off the only body that we got. Okay. So let me just go through these sketches. So there's the body sketch. This is drawn in the XZ plane, okay? Like if you click this top thing and if you rotate this guy around, you can see that this sketch is drawn right in the XZ plane. So you can draw in the XZ plane. Then there's this shape sketch. It's drawn in the YX plane. All right. And then there's this seats sketch, which is drawn on this top yellow plane. This plane right here, plane 2. So that's why plane 2 is there, so that you can have something to draw on, to draw this line and this line and this line. And then the yellow plane down here, plane 3, is there so that you can locate this point down here. Okay, so it looks like you can draw on the default, the default 3 planes, like the XZ plane, the YZ plane, and the other plane. The 3 principal planes, you can draw on those, and if you need to draw somewhere else, you need to use this. You need to add a couple of more planes. All right. So let me turn all the sketches on. So they've got these sketches. Then they went through a series of operations to generate this body, which is the canoe. And you can go through these sketches down using the timeline down here at the bottom. You can rewind this all the way back to the beginning and then step through the steps they used to produce that. So first they drew this body sketch. Okay, that's where it says body here. That's drawing the body sketch. Then they drew this other sketch in the XY plane. Then they did an extrusion of the body sketch, right? That's this, or a sweep rather. They did a sweep, yes. Just straight up using this line here, I think. And then they drew this yellow construction plane and drew the point, right? That's these 2 operations here, making a plane and then locating a point on it. Then they did a loft. I'm not sure where oh, that's the bottom of the thing. So they lofted the bottom, or the body sketch, the body sketch, this sketch. They lofted that down to this point. Okay, to this point right here. See if I can get a better view of that. So this surface right here is constructed from, let's see, turn off the body, from this sketch right here, lofted down to this point down here. So then they did, I turned everything off. Then they did, what was that command? They did a shell. They did a shell that produced that. Then they made another plane so that they could construct this seat sketch, right? Which is the black line and these other two lines. Then they did a web command to create these little seats. That's what they did. So you might want to play around with this timeline back and forth and kind of take this thing apart. Even though the tutorial doesn't ask you to do that, I think that's a really good thing to do. Okay, now the tutorial itself, they just want you to modify the design by going back in the timeline and changing some of the things that happen. Like they ask you to go to the sweep command, which is one of the first commands that were done, double click it in the timeline, and then make some changes in the dialog. So I want you to change the single path to path plus guide rail, because originally it was done with just this one blue line here, the path. So then you need to select the guide rail. That's this curvy line up at the end of the canoe. Okay, and I think that's it. You can click OK, and it sort of made the canoe, curvier. So okay, do you see how you go back into the timeline here and you can edit and change the design, and everything done forward from that changes. It's pretty cool. Okay. The next thing they want you to do is change the bottom of the boat. So originally they did a profile. They did I think it was a loft. They did it was a loft. So they want you to double click loft in the timeline. And originally they went down to profile 2 to this point down here. So they want to change the type. Where it says profile 2, they want to go point tangent. So the curve will be tangent through that point. And then you can fiddle with this weight. You don't need to, but you could if you wanted to. I think the value they want is just 1, but just playing around with it. Like if you did 1.5, it's more. Or if you did say 0.9, it's more curvy. They just want you to do 1. Okay, so we just changed the type of the operation, and for some reason the original type is no longer an option. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but anyway. Okay, so click OK to get out of that. So now there's these seats, which are a web, and in the next tutorial they'll make you do a web and you'll see what webs are, but for now know that the web is defined by these little blue lines. So if we modify the underlying sketch, then the web will change. So we want to go to this seat sketch and double click it. Or what is it? Right click, edit sketch. Yeah, then add or sketch dimension here. Click this center point and then a point on this little blue line. Stick a dimension on there. Type in a new number. They want you to use 45 degrees. Enter. And the sketch has been modified. So when we click Finish Sketch, the seats are now moved in closer. They follow the underlying sketch. And that's it for this thing here. really you're just changing a couple of operations that were done, but I think it's important to go through the timeline here and understand the operations that were used to construct this. All right. Okay, the next one is, I'm just going to close this. I'm not going to save it. And I'm going to go to the doorstop, open that up, and just see what we got. We got the base sketch, which is what, this little half circle thing, and then sort of a, I don't know, is this a trapezoid? No, it's not a trapezoid. It's like a tapered rectangle, whatever that is called. And then there's this web sketch, which is these 4 blue lines. And all of these are in the, they're in the XZ plane. Well, we're looking down on the XZ plane, but if you look on the front view, you can see that all these features are in the same plane. All right, I'll put it back on home view. Okay, in the timeline, there's just base sketch and web sketch. That's it. And we're going to basically build the rest of the doorstop. So we're going to do a couple of extrusions first. So we click the extrude button. We want this profile right here, and we want it to be 50. And that's that. Then we want to do another extrude. And so these sketches turn on and off. So it doesn't seem to even really make sense, but turn that back on. We want this profile, and we want 50. So that's that. Okay, next we want to put a taper on this thing, a couple of tapers on this thing. They call that a draft. So you can click these little corners and get this thing to click the right one. There we go. So we have to hide some stuff to be able to select. Oh shoot, I did something wrong. Sure did. I'm going to back up. I'm going to use the history to back up on this thing because I did something wrong. This extrude 6 here, I'm going to double click it. And the operation I did was join, but I don't. I want new body. So I'll click OK. Okay, great. So we have 2 bodies, this one and this one. And the reason for that is because they're going to have different tapers on them. And then after we do the tapers, you join the bodies together so that you can shell them as one piece. So now we can hide this because we need to select this face for the tapering operation, which is called a draft. So you go to modify, they call it a draft. I don't know, they should call it a taper, but they don't. We call it a draft, and so you start that. So the plane is this thing, and you need to click this. You need to click this arrow to flip it. And then, let's see, the other plane we select is this one. And the degrees, I think, is 10 degrees. Yeah, that's what we want. Click OK on that. Then we're going to taper it again along a different axis. So turn it around so it looks something like that. So you can get a hold of the bottom of this thing. Okay, then start the draft command. This is our plane. And then the faces are this thing. You have to hold down control while you click these things. It's a little bit awkward. I don't know why it's control and not shift, but that's what it is. You gotta hold down control while you click these faces. That's what we want. And also 10 degrees. Okay, now the tutorial I think has an error in it. I think what we want is want it symmetric. We want it to look like that, right? I mean, most doorstops I've seen, they taper up like that. The tutorial has them tapering out, which I don't think that's right. So click OK. That's that. Then next thing is a chamfer on this edge. You want to change the type to distance and angle. That was the type. And the distance is 10 millimeters. The angle's 35 degrees. I'm getting errors, but like certain numbers will error, I guess because it's making the chamfer too big or something. But if you just use the numbers they give you, it works. Okay, that's a chamfer. All right, so what do we got? We still got two separate bodies, that one and that one. What we want to do though is hollow out the whole bottom of this thing, so it needs to be one body. So we need to join these. So that's a combine command. So combine this body and that body, and the operation is join. And just click OK. Now we have one body called body 5. Okay, so lastly, we want to do a shell command. Where is it? Shell. Modify shell. Now, we did a shell with the utility knife where you clicked in the browser, you clicked the whole body, and that would shell every surface. But if you click a surface, just one surface, and then do the thickness, that's 5 millimeters. What am I doing wrong here? Let me escape. Let me start over again. Modify shell. I think I had the whole thing selected from the browser. Just what I was trying to say was not the thing to do. Okay, we want to just click the bottom. That's it. Then do 5. Yeah, that's what we want. And click OK. And there you go. It's all shelled out from the bottom. Now we can do the web command. That's what these blue lines here are for in the web sketch. So we'll go modify, or is it create web. For the curve, select all, and you don't have to hold down shift here for some strange reason. Those are them. The options we want are what? What are the options? There are 4. Let's see, symmetric, 2 next, thickness. We just want thickness, 5 millimeters. And it's done. I think I did this before and I didn't have flip direction, and you'll get an error. So yeah, you got to click flip direction and it works. And click OK. And that's it. Doorstop. You could 3D print it quicker than ordering on Amazon. Probably not as cheap or as good, but you can do it. All right. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Just follow the steps in the tutorial. Okay, bye-bye.